I love to cook at home. Having good kitchenware makes all the difference in the world. Not only does good equipment make prep and cooking easier, but it makes it more enjoyable. That's why I'm a huge fan of Made In Cookware. Their wide range of products are designed to be professional quality, but for you right in your home. I have over a dozen pieces from Made In, including pots, pans, a pizza steel, knives, and even beer glasses. Yeah, they have glassware too. They have it all. Take your home cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein. Find out why pros like Sean Brock, Nancy Silverton, and Eric Repair trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein, that's MADEIN, and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today.
Happy hour, more like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, again, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich. Here with me, as always, Tim Johnson, Kevin Abbott. How you fellas doing?
Here. I think is maybe... that's kind of been my stock answer lately, is that I'm here, which oftentimes is enough.
Present.
Yes. Jermaine?
I'm just gonna ape off of what Tim just said. Yeah, that's the way I feel. I'm just kind of here and getting through. I am very overwhelmed with work and personal life stuff, but I am happy to be with you guys after several weeks without talking to you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking at my camera, and I thought maybe it was just my lighting. I'm like, no, I'm just sleep deprived and sickly. That's not lighting. That's not my camera. That's not anything. I just look this bad in real life.
Oh, don't do that to yourself, Tim.
No, fine. I won't. I'll let you guys do it to me.
You look sleep depraved and terrible.
Depraved, that works.
So we will get to Kevin's trip in just a minute. I do want to add that because it was kind of my gimmick around the brewery at Copper Point to be the downer guy. People would ask me like, "Oh, how's it going? How are you?" "I'm alive." Like that was my canned response. And anytime anyone came at me with something like that, I'd be like, that's my shtick around here. We can only have one downer guy in this business. So I'm kind of curious as to who took over I have a good idea who took over my spot there, but I am curious as to who is the real downer person now.
Well, this is 3 Eeyores right now. I think.
That's the name of our brewery, guys. We make our own brewery, 3 Eeyores.
3 Eeyores Brewing.
Disney really missed out. Like they went with the Tigger movie. They really should have done 3 Eeyores. I think that they could have had something there.
It's just like 3 amigos, but depressing.
And it's only 3 Eeyores because Snuffleupagus is too many syllables.
I was thinking they did 3 Eeyores and a baby, like a crossover of that.
Lord. 3 Eeyores and a little lady. I don't even understand why Eeyore exists, because the main character of that cartoon, his catchphrase is "Oh bother." That's the main character. The main character is already a major depressive, right? Like they wonder why our generation is all on all these antidepressants. It's because we had Winnie the Pooh to look up to, and one of his best friends who was even more depressed.
I wouldn't say he's more depressed. He's obsessive compulsive. No, Winnie the Pooh.
Oh. But he says, "Oh bother" all the time, and his best friend is a hyper manic in Tigger. right?
They really are. Well, I mean, Piglet is a like hypochondriac. Like
Yeah.
It's nothing. It's nothing but mental health disorders. It's basically the writer went looked through the DSM-5, and they just said, okay, how many people can we get? How much can I represent? The
I mean,
spectrum.
Christopher Robin, the kid who came up with all of these characters. I mean, he's
Really fucked up. That kid needs
yeah.
therapy.
Yeah, I need to check out A. A. Milne's the creator of Winnie the Pooh, by the way. A. A. Milne's Wikipedia page. I'm pretty certain I have that right. I think it's A. A. Milne. Someone look that up. But he might have been the original mental health advocate, or at least mental health awareness guy.
A. Milne is the correct person.
Boom.
I'm not going to read through his entire Wikipedia right now, but
It just
maybe
ends.
that's for another episode of United We Poo.
Yeah.
That's not a good name. It's really not a good name.
Workshop it. Workshop it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. We could work that out, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what are yous drinking tonight?
I stopped by Town Hall Lanes, that you guys are now familiar with,
See?
and I picked up a crowler of Masala Mama.
Nice.
I thought it would seem fitting for coming back together and having one of these. So that's going to be 2 of those, and I should probably be asleep within about 15 minutes into the pod. So this will be perfect.
Wait, are you Aaron Wall? Like, I didn't know that it's a Bitter Units callback to many years ago when I was on that show. So do they only do crowlers, or do they do packs, 6-packs, or any packaging?
They only do crowlers.
Okay, is that a licensing thing that they can't do?
Anymore, I don't know, but they aren't a distribution brewery, so they wouldn't have a canning line, right? They're a brew pub, so why invest in a wild goose when you can just have a crowler filler and a crowler seamer? Yeah. They have like a licensing distribution to do a couple of things, but they wouldn't be able to sell those within on premise as far as like on in their facilities, as far as I'm aware. I think it's a license agreement, but regardless, why would you have a production scale canning line if you're just a brew pub?
Yeah,
for non-distribution.
I am drinking, and I was cleaning up a little bit before the show. This Change of Heart IPA from Bell's. It's a New Zealand style IPA. It gushed when I opened it right before the show and went all over my desk and floor. It doesn't, which like you would think infection. Like it doesn't come across as infected to me. So I don't really know why. It just came right from the fridge out here. So
hop creep wouldn't necessarily be an infection, right?
That's true. Yeah.
But
I think it's a fantastic tasting IPA. A little more citrusy than your standard Two Hearted, which I do have after this. They have a whole hearted variety pack that I picked up at the store today that also had a Smash Heart, which is single malt, single hop in there as well. So
the Smash Burger IPA.
Yes, some onions in there.
I know that
Summit.
I know they made a red IPA with that. Have they made a black? Because I feel like Blackheart would be like
Blackhearted would.
It's right there,
right? Jones
it's
the
right
Blackhearteds. Yeah, like I don't know how you don't have that. Kevin, how about yourself?
So I have.
They have done it.
Oh, they have.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So there is one of the people that Allie works with at the university. Her parents are big fans of Barrel of Monks, and whenever they go up north, when they come back, they bring me beers, and I've only kind of met them 2 or 3 times, but they're big fans of ours. They're very sweet. They brought me this Focal Banger by
Oh,
The Alchemist.
nice.
And they also brought me a couple other beers, and I just cracked this open. I've had like the Alchemist beers like twice. By the time they were really becoming popular and in the big trading stuff, I was kind of out of it. So this is like one of the few times I've actually had a can in my hand, and it's really good. It's pretty fresh.
Can,
It's only a couple months old.
can you hold that can up again? I want to just take a look at that. Like it. Okay, interesting. All
Have
right.
you ever had a focal banger, Tim?
No,
I've
I've never had it.
no, I've never had focal banger, which sounds like a totally normal thing to say out of context.
I when I lived in Philly, Alchemist would do a few drops a year of cans, and I would pick up Focal Banger when I could, and that's really good beer. It's so crazy. Hetty Topper was the one that they kind of got known for, and really keeps on really getting credit for starting the whole hazy IPA thing, which that beer is not a hazy IPA in taste aroma at all. It is a West Coast IPA on steroids, where Focal Banger is a true like hazy IPA.
I mean, I don't. You know more about this than I do, Mike, and this is the first time I'm having it. There's real bitterness here.
Yeah.
There's significant bitterness in this beer, and I mean it's hazy. There's stuff floating in it. I mean it has the look. I mean it has some tropical fruit, but this is not a flabby, no IBU beer in any way, shape, or form. So if this is what the hazies used to be, and we have turned that into just soft nothing beers, then shame on us again.
Yeah, I would say that I do actually think that is a thing that happened towards the hazy arms race. Is that they did actually start off as, there wasn't just this, it was more generically East Coast versus West Coast, and the East Coast were softer and less bitter, but they weren't like this arms race towards everything. West Coast had to be like 3,000 IBUs, and everything East Coast had to be negative
3.
Right. So I do feel like they did diverge, but like even if you look at like Hetty Topper or something like that, it isn't such a extreme. It has to be this sort of mouth pillow type of thing. I don't know.
Mouth pillow IPA.
I don't know that I've actually. I know that I've had stuff from The Alchemist, but I don't know that I've had. It's not something you see around here. Certainly, I would assume they win like 5th place medals that are made of lead, and they can just turn them into gold medals. Is that how that works?
I have never had anything. I've never had anything besides Hetty and Focal Banger from them. I follow them on Instagram, and they make tons of other beers as well. One thing that they have on site in their tap room that people say is like a must-have beer is Hetty on cask, and that is something that I would love to be able to have someday, because I feel like big double IPAs on cask can be a really nice, delicious treat.
Back in the day, I remember going to visit an ex-girlfriend of mine in Richmond, and there were a handful of incredible beer bars there, and one of them almost always had Hop Devil on cask. And that was like the coolest thing. I thought it was amazing, and I used to always look forward to going there and having a Hop Devil on cask.
Fat Cats down in Fort Lauderdale for a long time always had rotating Victory beers on cask. Mm. They would have Hop Devil, they would have Storm King, they would have like anything that they could get from Victory on cask back in the day, which like that's just something that I miss, is a few bars actually having an engine and being able to keep some stuff on tap for those. Kevin looks a little confused.
No, there's some vegetal aspects to this. There's a little onion in there. Not that I dislike that. I was just picking that up and thinking about what we were just talking about how the hazies have gone off into this like just tropical fruit everything. And I wasn't. I mean, I was not at the forefront of that as a brewer or as a drinker, so I came into it already when I feel like all the beers were already just tropical fruit bombs with no IBUs, and I'm really impressed with this because it's not that. And I think we can go back to it. Let's lead the charge to some bitterness and complexity in our hazy IPAs again.
Yeah, I forget what the name of it is, but a coworker brought in a Trillium hazy that just reminded me of kind of one of these more classic, almost Midwest style Citra driven IPA. And I joke all the time, right? That I've made the joke of brewers have a coin on one side it says Mosaic and Citra on the other side it says Citra Mosaic, right? But this was like a Citra driven IPA, and I was like, oh fuck, I forgot that like I still really enjoy Citra.
Yeah.
So many times it's in something with something weird like Idaho 7 and some uh experimental hop and hop flakes and hop oils and hop jelly and
Don't say that, Tim.
You say
know
stuff
that-
and then it comes out.
Yes.
Smucker's hop jelly is going to be a thing by the time the show comes out.
Bon Maman is going to have a advent calendar of hop jellies this year.
Yeah, a cookie is just a cookie, but Newtons are hops and cake. It's going to be hop Newtons. I'm telling you, it's coming. But yeah, no, it does remind me that there was a time. So I always, I've mentioned on the pod before that
You're from Minnesota, yeah.
that hazy IPA has always existed, even on the West and Midwest. We just called them hoppy wheats at the time, right? Like same thing. Let's not pretend like they're not. Hoppy American wheats are hazy IPAs. Let's not pretend like they're not. Hoppy wheat just doesn't sell because everyone thinks they have a gluten sensitivity. But a lot of those were kind of that. They were still tropical. They were still, fruity. They were softer. They weren't so insanely bitter, but they also still had, like you said, onion or some of these other characteristics. They weren't just straight up drinking orange juice, but they were still a lot more delicate than like a West Coast IPA. Let's just, I'm gonna say make hoppy wheats great again. I don't know if I can put that onto a hat, but I'm going with it.
Just don't make it red.
Mahawa.
Mahaga. You need the great part there. Yeah.
Okay.
But yes. Yeah. So no, I'm glad that you're having that, Kevin. I'd be curious to have that one in particular. But it's good. It's certainly, not the maltier red one. Although you guys have had this beer, so
It's amazing. That's an amazing beer.
Like, I almost feel, and I'm coming from a brewery that made a red IPA year round for a long time, and like that type of style, that darker, like caramely IPA with those citrusy tropical notes to it. Like our A10 at Copper Point was very passion fruit, mango, and pine in flavor. There's a lot of mosaic in there, but like those types of beers are just so good. And then if you add some fucking rye in there too, and you have like beauty.
Well, this one doesn't even drink like a red IPA to me. It just drinks more like what I think of a classic Midwest IPA style, where it's so funny.
Multi double IPA.
Yeah, I have a coworker that always talks about how he doesn't like multi IPAs. He's not a huge of some of the malty or Voodoo Ranger or Deschutes fresh squeezed, or like some of these that are like redder and maltier or whatever. And he loves this beer. And every time he talks about how he doesn't like when he sees an IPA with a lot of like caramel malt in there, and then he's like, I'm just not going to order it. And then I always have to be like, yeah, but remember Masala? Remember how much you like that beer? And I think it speaks a lot to how like balance is an overused term in brewing, because it's kind of a bullshit term, right? Like and Kevin even kind of talked about what balance means in a recent, if you're on Instagram, find his pretty face on there, but talking about how balance might mean, a balanced IPA doesn't mean that it's equal parts kind of sweet and bitter. It just means that you're using more aggressive bittering to kind of cut through the sweetness, so it's not so cloying. But that's not the same thing as it's kind of more delicate with roast or with residual sweetness or things like that. But this one does to me like when I want to say the word balance is that I never feel like this is a beer that if someone likes malty beers, they're gonna like this. If someone likes hoppy beers, they're gonna like this, and they're never gonna feel like either one of those are really out competing. But they're both fitting very, very well together in this beer.
It's like saying like balance kind of reminds me of in food pairing, what Kevin would use all the time is pairing. It can contrast or it can complement. Like none of that sounds like a pairing if they are two contrasting things from one another. But I completely get what you mean. You got to come up with some sort of terminology to explain it, because even balance is pretty much just subjective to whoever is the person writing the recipe, try and making the thing and being like, yeah, this is balanced, where to someone else it could be completely unbalanced.
Right.
Well, I mean, taste is subjective. I mean, at the end of the day, this is bitter. No, it's not. This is spicy. No, it's not. This is acidic. No, it's not. I mean, everybody has these different perceptions, right?
To be fair, as a Minnesotan, if you call something spicy and everyone says no, it's not, Minnesotans are wrong. It is in fact not spicy. We just think everything here is. Our Midwest palate thinks that salt is a spice.
Do you? I never really know. Tim, do you like spicy food?
Oh yeah, I love spicy food.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't really notice when we were there you like ordering spicy things.
Well,
like
the
ghost pepper.
Yeah,
curds,
we got the ghost pepper
curds.
curds. We got some other things. I do. It's not my palate that is so offended by them anymore. It's just my old man gut that can't handle them nearly as much. But like one of the things I sent you last week was how much I wish I would have taken you guys to this Mexican restaurant down the road to me, and that had some really good spice and things. And it is legit. It is not white person Mexican. As evidenced by the blank looks that I got when I tried to speak English there. But
speaking of white people in Spanish-speaking territories,
good transition.
Kevin just came back a little bit ago from a 2-week trip of Spain.
Well, I hope some of the people that are following us saw that, because you shared all the content, I believe, that I put out with all the beers that I was trying and some wine things that I tried. And I told you guys that I wanted to share some things, and some of it was about beer, but a lot of it was just about the drink culture and some of the things that really stood out to me. And this is going to be in no particular order. I'm just going to kind of throw some things and get your opinions on them. But one of the things I noticed, they love them some Radlers over there.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of everywhere, and you can kind of find one all over the place. Amstel makes one, very popular. I mean, whether I was in Bilbao, just outside the Guggenheim Museum, at a little cafe, or I was at a more like serious sit-down restaurant, that tended to be available at all places. And that kind of informs the flavor profile in some ways of, I think, some of the beers I like to drink, and also some of the drinks just in general. Like I'll give you an example. When I was doing my research of all the places I needed to go, because I went to 5 different cities in Spain, and I wanted to figure out what food I had to eat from each region and what drinks I had to get. And one of the main things I read about was Tinto di Verano, which is a red wine drink, right? Many people describe this as like grown-up sangria. Like in Spain, they really don't drink sangria, which isn't really true. There was plenty of places that sold sangria, but it was not everywhere. Tinto di Verano was everywhere.
That's red wine with lemon lime soda over ice.
And thank you for jumping on that, Tim. What I was going to tell you is that I did not know that beforehand. Allie was telling me about that. so I get it, and I'm looking up what's in there, and I was like, oh, so the grown-up drink to sangria, which is, wine and fruit and a little splash of soda and whatever, is basically the cocktail. When I was 17 years old, I worked at an Olive Garden. And what everyone did was because you had red wine bottles all over the restaurant. So you could steal one, pour it into a kid's cup, top it with Sprite and ice. And that was the drink that everybody drank. Right. Yeah. And if you were on the outside looking in, you would think, look at these, low class individuals drinking Sprite and red wine. It turns out these were the classiest motherfuckers alive.
My
Sprite and red wine and ice is the most delicious thing ever. I will say, and I will go to my grave saying it. It was delicious, better than any sangria I've ever had. So if you are drinking Sprite and red wine, you are a fancy man or woman or human. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was going to say my ex-wife's family used to do Mogan David and Sprite over the holidays, and I used to always laugh at that because Mogan David, if you've ever had it, is the classiest of wines. One step. I don't even say up or around. Different staircase of $2 chuck, basically.
I'm really happy with myself for getting very close to spelling that correctly in my search on Google.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I am familiar with the Tinto de Verano. But yeah, it's basically just a wine radler, right? I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with being a again, like you said, Tinto de Verano being very much. They don't have a national drink, but basically being their national drink, right? Also, just kind of being a hot but not tropical climate, right? Like the difference between Spain and Florida is more tropical. Spain is not tropical, but it's hot, so you still want more refreshing drinks. So it totally does not surprise me that it's a radler culture in any way, shape, or form.
So those two drinks all over the place. The other thing that I found, and this is everywhere all over Spain, but specifically in Granada, in southern Spain, is the vermouth culture. And I grew up drinking Manhattans. I always have a bottle of sweet vermouth in my house that is 6 years old.
When he was 8 years old, having Manhattan.
That was what I asked for my 8th birthday. It was a bottle of sweet vermouth, and my parents were very irresponsible and got one for me. No, but there's always a bottle. I was thinking more of my mom, who does not listen to the podcast. I wouldn't put it past her. But anyway, everyone has a bottle of sweet vermouth in their house. No one drinks it on the rocks. In fact, one of my favorite movies of all time, Groundhog's Day, the love interest, Roddy McDowell. Roddy McDowell would be a different love interest.
That would be to Bill Murray. That would be very different.
And you know what? I'm in for it. But anyway, Andy McDowell orders in the bar sweet vermouth on the rocks with a twist. And then Bill Murray, to say that he, is just like her and they have so much in common, orders the same thing, takes a sip and spits it back into the glass or what, I can't remember exactly what he does, but it's gross, right? He finds it gross. And I've always thought about like how weird that was. And as I got into cocktails later on, I was like, no one would ever drink this on the rocks. In Granada, but all over different areas of Spain, vermouth in the afternoon or in the early evening is just what you do. And they have incredible vermouths that they just serve on ice that are the most delicious thing you've ever had in your life. I walked away from that saying, I love port wine. I like sherries. But this is a refreshing, less sweet, amazing version of what that flavor profile is. And I left going, I will have a bottle of vermouth in my house on a regular basis going forward, and that will be a regular drink of mine.
So
and it was amazing.
Yeah, no, I learned because who has since passed away, but a family friend was really big into fortified wines, but he was more of kind of a port and sherry and kind of that dessert wine type of thing, that fortified wine type of thing. But I had learned to slowly get like a sweet white vermouth right? Or do kind of perfect vermouth, which half dry, half sweet type of thing, and actually learn to drink that over ice, where I did not feel like I was just drinking syrup like I get with like a port or a sherry. Like if you do it right or cut it with some water or things like that, to me it's super refreshing. And I did learn that a lot. Now I don't keep that in the house because I'm not playing mixologist a lot, but I do appreciate that. So it's interesting that it's that much a part of the culture there.
I'm gonna have to try this because I do keep sweet vermouth in the house to make Negronis, and like I've actually never sipped on the one that we carry right now, and I can't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head. But I used to get a bottle of vermouth from Plowman Ciders, who I've mentioned on the show many times before. Pennsylvania Cidery. I'm part of their club. They make a vermouth with cherries that they grow on their farm, and I would use that as an after dinner drink. Just have a little sipper of that. I've never done it on ice, so that sounds like really interesting to me, especially with it being insanely hot here right now. So I think that that's something that I'm definitely going to try this weekend.
Well, and by the way, if you've had that bottle for a long time, it will be oxidized,
Oh
and
yeah.
also like the Martini and Rossi vermouth is not necessarily the quality you're looking for. But if you go to Total Wine and More, there are some really good vermouths out there, and I would recommend. And by the way, I thought I was going to like the sweet vermouth so much better. The dry vermouth, just spectacular. I mean, became my go-to drink, especially early in the evening while I was there. So those are the things that were non-beer related. The beer related things that came up.
One other quick thing,
Oh,
real quick, Kevin. Our mutual friend Ryan once told me when he was in Italy, he ordered a martini at a restaurant and was given just a glass of martini and Rossi.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah.
perfect. So as far as the beer culture goes, a couple things stood out to me. One is that what we were really doing. I mean, we went to some great cultural sites. The Alhambra, which is just one of the most beautiful places you can ever go in the world. This was in Granada, in Spain, and just so many. There was a mosque in that was in Cordoba, which was just beautiful. And I would love to just sit down with you guys and tell you about it because it was mind blowing, the architecture and things like that. But we went to so many restaurants, so many bars, because that's what we were doing. We were trying to experience the food culture. So in the 12 days or 13 days we were there, I was probably at 35 different places that sold food, maybe 40. Because many times in the evening, we would just do little bar crawls and do tapas or pinchos at 4 different places. And I noticed that craft beer really isn't anywhere, at least in the places I was going. And were they more touristy areas? Maybe. I mean, these were well-trodden areas that are very famous for their foods, but there wasn't a lot of locally produced craft beer. But there was some. I had Basqueland was the brewery that stood out to me the most, that was making maybe American style craft beer the most, making IPAs, making lagers, pilsners. They were really, really good. I was really impressed by their beer. And there were other bigger, like Mao is the big boy over there. That's like the Budweiser. But even some of their specialty beers were really, really good. Really well made, drinkable, flavorful, excellent. And there was another brewery called Dom that they did essentially it was an IPA. It was like a Midwest IPA called Kumplot. And I drank it. I was like, I think I'm drinking a Bell's Two Hearted. It was really cool. So there was a handful of really good beers out there, but I was also, and I see Tim, I know you want to jump in there, but I did put this out for anyone that was following the feeds and stuff like that. What I thought was so interesting, and I want your guys' take on this, is the fact that the entire culture there has this understanding of the term tostada to refer to like an amber colored or brown colored beer, to the point where if you order a beer at a bar, I did this 3 times, and I ordered a tostada beer, they will say, you know that's a tostada, right? Like they're worried that you think it's going to be a blonde lager, and they need to kind of make sure it would be the similar thing of like, you know, that's an IPA, you know, that's bitter, right? Like this is not Budweiser. And Amstel, the tostada, Amstel Oro, which was everywhere, and I know it's not a Spanish beer, but I'd never seen it anywhere else. But they were everywhere you went. It was almost like I've heard of. I have never been to England before, but you go on and you've got a lager and an ale and a cider, like at every pub. At these places, you had like 2 lagers and a tostada at every place you went to. And I just thought that was a really interesting thing of having these toasted malt beers that are darker in color and that being a big part of the culture.
So 2 things. First of all, Amstel Oro is the amber. Oro means gold. I would think that literally is the opposite. That makes me laugh. But no, I was gonna ask because so like in Italy, a country that is European but not a beer culture country, right? So it certainly it's not Germany, it's not Belgium, it's not Czech, it's not English, right? Like Italy, not a beer culture. It's more of a wine culture country. Is very kind of more American craft beer like, but from what I learned while I was there was that it's basically just because a lot of Americans just transplanted to Italy and started breweries. I wondered if Spain was going to be the same, but it is different, from a climate standpoint. It is different from a culture standpoint. So it's interesting that they don't necessarily have a more kind of crafty culture, not necessarily an old world, but they do have their own niche.
This will be a fun little story for you, Kevin. I posted when you were over there the picture of you holding the Amstel Oro, and on Blue Sky, one of our followers and listeners, he posted a picture. He was also in Spain at the same time as
Really?
you, but he was in the Barcelona area, and he
Okay.
posted a picture of the Voldam.
Voldam, yeah, exactly.
And the Marzen, and then you, like maybe an hour or so later, sent over the picture of you or the video of you having a Voldam Marzen too, and I'm like, oh, Kevin just had that as well.
Yeah, there was the quality of the beer across the board was really, really good. I was really impressed by everything that I tried there, and there was more breweries that I was kind of looking through I didn't have enough time to prepare because I just came back from my son's baseball game when we were recording, but I was looking back through some pictures, and there really was nothing that I tried that I didn't like. There were beers that were just competent and well made. Alhambra Especial, just delicious, just drinkable macro style lager, inoffensive but well made. I went to one craft beer bar, and bought a few things, but I went to one craft beer shop that I stumbled into, and this is in Bilbao, in the last place that we visited. And they were so nice. They spoke English there, so Allie didn't have to translate the entire time, which was nice for her because she got to take a little break. And the walls were lined with hazy IPAs. Just hazy IPAs as far as the eye can see. They had Tripping Animals beer there, Mike. So they were
How bizarre.
They were pretty old. But I was asking, like, hey, what should I try? Right? What's here that's really good? And one of the breweries that he recommended was a brewery in Spain called Oso, OSO. And they did a lot of collaborations with a bunch of different breweries, and they had just very simple art that almost looked like line art that might look like a flag of a country. And I got, I think, several IPAs from them. Each one of them were just delicious and really, really well made. But I was also interested when I was talking to the guy saying, a lot of hazies, huh? Like, you guys, that's what you guys do too? Is that everyone just wants hazy IPAs? And he was like, yeah. He's like, that's what everybody wants. I said, well, I'm sorry that I don't know if we technically exported that to you, but I'm sorry if that's the case, because there's more to the world than that. But I think the craft beer scene, there's several really really good ones out there. They're not penetrating the market, at least to someone who is vacationing there and staying in hotels and going to what I would consider local restaurants and some out of the way spots. But the what I'm trying is very very good.
I
I mean,
would have loved to find out that Oso is just Oso Republica, which is just Bear Republic, uh, uh, transported over there, and you were literally just drinking an American beer.
I like I was in Barcelona in, I want to say it was like 2014, and like it was a predominantly like macro lager for a lot of the restaurants and bars and stuff. Like Estrella Dom and was like the thing all over the place. But like there was a budding craft beer culture at that point in time. And I went into a bottle shop and there was like so much Cantillon. It was like, I'm like, I cannot even find this stuff in America. And like, I, I was like, okay, what can I bring home with me? And I was like, I'm looking at all the bottles, and the bottle shop guy was like, "Oh, he speaks English, and but a little broken." And I was like, "Oh, do you have Fufone?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, hold on though." And he's like, and he goes in the back and he brings out a bottle of Mamausch, which I want to say was like elderflower lambic, and he's like, this one's special. I was like, yes, that one's special too. Like I will take it. But like we went to a couple breweries. We went to a brew pub that was a couple expat U.S. Folks over there. We went to an amazing brewery in like not in Barcelona, Saint Joan Miniona. If I'm butchering the name of that town, I'm sorry. To Ales Aguilon, a brewery in a guy's house at the top of a hill covered in vines of grapes, and has a little tap room. He hosts Zwanza Day in Spain every year. He's friends with Jean Roy from Cantillon. He makes lambic beer. He makes clean beer. Just hanging out at this guy's house drinking beer was like top 5 favorite beer things I've ever done in my life. Like I could tell at that time that the culture was new, and like, I mean, you're in a whole different part of the country over a decade later. So it's cool to see your perspective on what is going on in a place so very foreign to us white boys. But yeah, I'm just very jealous of that, of just going around eating and drinking with your child, like having like and I meant to ask because you were talking about this on our trip, is like you weren't sure how much food your son was going to eat. How did he do?
So we found out that he would eat some things. So he had never eaten chorizo before, and we got him to eat chorizo. He actually also ate pulpo, which is octopus. And he didn't know it was octopus, but he ate it, and he was okay with it, right? So there were several things that we got him to eat and got him to try, and there was enough places that we can get him some fried chicken, chicken tenders kind of thing, or something, equivalent to it, grilled chicken here or there. So he did well. I cannot. We went to a winery, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. I mean, just it was stunning. The wine was incredible, and he just listened to music and did his own thing. I want to share with you guys like this production facility, because you would be the most jealous people in the history of mankind of how beautiful this place was and how well maintained it was. But he was a rock star. I mean, he did so well as being not even 8.5 years old, and basically indulging his parents, going on their food and drink adventure in Spain in 5 different cities. So yeah, that was really great. I also want to call out, there's 2 other breweries that I had that were there. Not like anyone's listening from them, but La Rua and La Salva or La Salvi. Those two are other breweries I had multiple beers from that I really liked that were Spanish breweries that I just want to make sure I mentioned as well.
Awesome.
Did you get like other? I totally know this isn't the point of this podcast, but did you go to the Guggenheim?
We went to the Guggenheim. Yeah,
Okay,
that
nice.
that was
This is your
incredible.
your second Frank Gehry encounter in as many weeks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, the Guggenheim was amazing. That was a fantastic museum. We also went to a flamenco show,
Oh, nice.
and I thought that was going to be the most touristy bullshit thing ever. But I was going to like it because I was there, and I don't really care for live music as much as other people do. I like live music. I want to see Springsteen. I want to see Weird Al. I want to see if Warren Zevon was alive, I'd crawl over anyone to go see him. But I don't prefer live music overall. So I was like, yeah, we're going to go. It was the most amazing thing. It was just the pounding rhythm, the music. It was just spectacular. And Jennifer Connelly and Paul Bettany were in the front row of that show. And as we were leaving, Allie's like, "Hey, that's Jennifer Connelly and Paul Bettany." And I said, "Really?" And as we were being like shuffled out, so we got to see some celebrities apparently in there when we were doing our thing. But
did you go, "I love you as an android. Can't wait for your new show"?
I barely was. Allie pointed out we were walking past him, so no, I didn't get the chance. But no, there were cultural things like that I thought were going to be like passing curiosities that were amazing. And like going to the Guggenheim was like that. Going to the mosque that I mentioned earlier and seeing the architecture was really moving. I mean, it was something. It was more than I expected it to be, as far as my appreciation of it. And I don't know if it's me getting older or just respecting, cultures in a different way. But yeah, it was really lovely. The food was fantastic. I talked about the food forever, but that's not what we're here to do. So
we're not united, we eat, I guess. So here we are 45 minutes into the show, and we'll get into our real topic. We'll be done recording this at our Kevin and I's time by midnight. So what we wanted to talk about for this episode was seasonality, but not in the way that we probably typically talk about it with beer, because we've talked about seasonal beers and seasonal creep, and we're getting ready to get into one of the most seasonal creep times of the year.
Too late. Oktoberfest are already up here.
They are.
Yep.
Okay.
Already settled.
Middle, like the exact middle of July right now when we're recording this, and there you go. Have you had a pumpkin beer yet that you've seen?
I have not seen a pumpkin beer. I've not sought them out.
All right, Pumpkin Watch 2026 is on.
Yeah. I do think I technically probably saw the first Oktoberfest, maybe even late June, which is it's basically like showing a back to school ad in April. Like it's I mean, I get it, right? But I don't.
Friend of the show and former guest Spencer from Scepter Brewing in Georgia. He's been posting like, I want to release my Marzen now. Like, I'm gonna just keep on doing it. It tastes great, but I'm just gonna keep on letting it sit for a while. But I want to release it now because he just loves, I guess, taking little drags off of the sample port. But what we wanted to talk about, though, for seasonality is the seasonality of like drinking culture and business for not just breweries, but their tap rooms, which are essentially bars and restaurants in a lot of ways, and also the bars and restaurants, because you probably have what you would call a season when restaurants and bars are busy. you can go to a place at restaurant time and you're like, oh, how long's the wait going to be? Or did we need to get a reservation for this place? And then you have your times where it's dead. You can walk in, you can find a table, a spot at the bar, easy. Places might adjust their hours accordingly for the more off times. And Kevin and I being in Florida compared to Tim are very different, we believe, seasons of what would be considered the time of the year where people are going out, drinking, eating, being social, and all of that. And uh, we are in the middle of summer right now. And I bet that for us and Tim, it is very different right now, where this is probably a pretty good season for you right now, Tim, where we are not quite in the most dead time of the year for us, but we're getting ready to go into the most dead time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have a state that basically doubles in population over the winter, right? Like
Yeah.
like it literally, it basically doubles in population. We don't have that. There are certainly people who are, snowboard and go back and forth, or there are some people that live in the south and have a cabin up north, but it really isn't one of those where our population is going to shift. But we're a lake culture, right? Like I when you guys were here, I took you by, oh, well, that's open for the season, that's open for the season, that's open for the season. When I mean open for the season, I don't mean because there's tourists in town. I mean it's the only way they can be open, because you can't open in the middle of winter, right? Because it's
Yeah.
freaking 3 degrees and no one's going to go there, type of thing. And so we do have a lot of that. What is interesting is right now we are in the middle of, like, it was 97 degrees today. The dew point was like 75. We also have this major air quality alert because of the wildfires up north, to the point where if you go outside right now, it literally looks like you went out on stage with Spinal Tap during the Tiny Stonehenge. It's that foggy and hazy outside right now. It is completely
How's the
unpleasant.
mouth feel outside?
Pillowy.
Pillowy. I mean, to the point where patios aren't open, and a bartender friend of mine was like talking about how she was angry that one person sat on the patio this weekend, because she had to go service that one person on the patio, and like, it's almost gotten too. I get that 97 degrees and 73% dew point, or 73-degree dew point, is like your normal summer, right? And it's not abnormal for us, right? It's an extreme for us, but it's not abnormal. We get this in the summer, but then we also literally drop down to, we just have, our highs are not too far away from your highs, but our lows are significantly lower than your lows. And you guys,
Oh, yeah.
Philly, Detroit, you certainly understand it, but like, that's kind of the thing, is we have such a thing where it's not driven by population and tourism and all of those things. It's literally just driven by people don't fucking leave their house whatsoever. And we're now in kind of this weird ebb of summer where people are also not leaving their house. So we're certainly seeing some places that are feeling like they're hurting, because this should be the busy time, but people are literally just not, because it's been so miserable and the air quality is so poor, and you don't want to go outside where your shirt suddenly weighs 5 pounds more and you feel like you smoked a pack of cigarettes, because of the air quality. So yeah, it's weird season, but it is definitely, yes, there are breweries that live and die by summertime, especially like the breweries that are on lakes, right? Like the Southwest Metro, those suburbs, like Excelsior Brewing is right on Lake Minnetonka. If nothing else, you know it from a Dave Chappelle show sketch, that joke. But like, that is 100% a lake life, lake culture type of place, where it feels like, the Best Buy model, where Best Buy loses money 11 months out of the year, and they make it up November 15th to December 15th, all on Christmas sales, like those types of things.
Well, one of the things that is interesting about Florida, and as someone who worked in the restaurant industry, or I should say in a service industry, that is affected greatly by the population at any given time since 2002. So 24 years now, is that 20 years ago, you had bigger drop-offs in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
There are more year-round residents in Florida now than there ever have been.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that kind of teeter-totter, like it's evening out a little bit. I mean, it's still a significant drop-off. I mean, if you look at our sales in our tap room, I want to say in even July versus June, I think we sold like 9,000. We like did like $9,000, $10,000 less in sales in our tap room, which is significant. That's a significant amount of money for us. And 15,000 down from like our peak, or $16,000 down from our peak in whatever it is, February or what have you. But it is evening out. I mean, I remember working in restaurants when it was dead in the summer,
Mm-hmm.
like 2 servers on. During season, you had 7 servers on, right? It was that disparate. But things have evened out quite a bit for many different reasons, but it still hurts you. But the thing that I always found so funny, especially in the beer industry, is the idea that breweries will always start complaining about the season as if they did not know it was coming.
Yeah.
as if it's not a cycle that happens, I don't know, every 12 months or so. I mean, like, season's really, off season's really getting to us. Yeah, you didn't plan for that in your business plan because we know it's going to happen. It's not a mystery. Like, if you have an air quality issue, Tim, yeah,
Mhm.
you didn't plan for that. You kind of got fucked. I get that. You can start complaining about it. But if you're a brewery in South Florida and you're complaining about 2 things, the rent or you're complaining about the season, you just had a shitty business plan and that's why you're out of business. Sorry.
It's like a college town that are surprised during the summer months that they're not getting nearly enough. Like, the college town I went to is a college town. Like, it literally, the population does ebb and flow by like literally 50%. I'm not exaggerating. From August to May to compared to June or July. Like, it's a big difference because there's way less
Massive.
students there, right? But yeah, if you did not plan on, we're just not going to be as busy during those times. And again, like I talk about when I worked at Best Buy, we talked about how that model was, don't worry that you're losing money 11 months out of the year, because that 1 month is going to make is everything, right? It's the only profitable thing. But at least that was reliable. And I feel like what has happened sometimes in beer is things that were reliable from a seasonal standpoint has started to shift.
That's a really good point.
So I want to piggyback on Kevin just a tiny bit here before pivoting, because like I'm in the same market as him, and yes, it is hilarious the amount of people who just do this same song and dance every May, June, July, August, September. But like, you're right, like the population has increased a lot, but that population who are staying here more are still not going out because it's fucking stupid hot and humid and they don't want to deal with that. Now, one thing that we saw last year at Copper Point, and maybe even a little bit the year before, was our package numbers out in the market were doing great during the summer. Our bee squeeze that was in public sets in our area did fantastic during the summer. And that was because people still go grocery shopping and they're still going to go down that beer aisle and be like, all right, then take this for home. And that was one thing that really kind of helped the business keep on moving along the summer, while we tried to find ways to get people in and maybe get them to come in an extra day or grab an extra beer or two on that day that they come in during the summer. Uh, the the off premise stuff in distribution was a game changer to have a great performing beer in sets in the biggest grocery store in the state was awesome. And not everyone has that fucking capability, for sure. But that was just this weird anomaly that I really noticed last year for sure. Maybe it was the year before too, but that, like, okay, we can survive as a distribution company, like, in the summer because of this. And I remember the people in the brewery being like, just churning out bees, just churning out bees. Like, they never slowed down. Like, in previous years, I remember summer days when I was working in the brewery, summer days being like, all right, we're not brewing anything today. We're not packaging anything today. Let's get the pressure washer out and we're going to start just spraying down the sides of tanks, spraying down the floors, spraying down the walls. What can we spray with the pressure washer? Okay, we got everything. It's lunchtime. All right.
Yeah, well, so that's one thing that I really thought of when you first kind of broached this topic, Mike, was one thing that is more unique in the adult beverage space than in traditional retail or restaurant is it's not like restaurants during the slow season suddenly pivot to heavy grocery, right? Like they play in two different worlds. Retailers that rely on the holidays don't suddenly go to, oh, I just consume all my consumer electronics on premise during the off season, right? It is that in the adult beverage space, maybe more than any other industry that I can think of offhand, is that you have a two-tailed approach. So it's less about um, being busy or not. It's more about having the right product mix, right? And
So important.
yeah, but it is also maybe the most difficult for people to be able to. I mean, as we learned over the pandemic, when people had to pivot 100% to distro and couldn't have their tap rooms open, right? And that's where a lot of people were hurting, right? But having that, especially for breweries that can still manage that these days, of having a mix between on and off premise, I can't think of too many other industries that are kind of as prevalent in people's day to day lives that rely. It's like Starbucks coffee you buy in the grocery store and Starbucks at the restaurant are two entirely different business units. They're basically two different companies, right?
Yeah.
But Copper Point you buy in the Copper Point tap room and Copper Point you buy in the grocery store, they're not two different business units. They're the same thing, right? It's more unique than even kind of those things that have both a retail space and a grocery space, because they are basically one company with different product mix versus essentially two different companies.
Well, one thing I want to point out here is this, so much of this conversation goes to what it means to be in package, in selling in grocery stores, and having that component of your business, which lowers your overall margin dramatically, right?
Yeah.
For years, Barrel of Monks built its model on selling draft beer. Draft beer has gone down, I believe, every year for the past 7 years for us, or 6 years, might be 6. It's been hemorrhaging tap handles for a long time, while package sales have gone through the roof, doubled, tripled, right? But I've hemorrhaged tap handles while tripling package, which means I make less money, right? I'd have to sell 8 times as much package to equal what I was doing in draft. Well, when you're talking about seasonality, who's getting hurt seasonally? It's restaurants, it's bars. Those are the places that are not selling as much stuff. And Mike, perfectly right. I mean, my package sales are as strong as they've ever been, ever. Part of it is because of Publix, like you mentioned with Bee Squeeze. But part of it is because Trader Joe's. Part of it is because ABC. Part of it is because Total Wine and More. I'm still selling the same amount. I don't sell less beer out of those outlets during the summer, but I sell a lot less draft. in my already dwindling draft accounts, which means I have a lot less profitability, which means that, you struggle and even more over the summer, even if you're moving just as much volume. So uh, it is it exacerbates problems with small craft breweries when we're talking about losing the potential for draft sales. And I don't know, we're talking about Florida for Mike and I very specifically, but if you're like Tim said, like your business is based off of like lake culture, or if your business is based off of like, skiing, like up in the mountains, and
Yeah.
you only do business for a certain amount of time, that you have this, this small window of time to like really make hay before like the bottom falls out, and then you're just coasting on whatever you have residual in the market of the locals that are there. But it's really interesting as I look at my volume of beer going up, not really up and up and up, but staying stable, but shifting much more towards package from draft, and going, my business is becoming more and more unhealthy, even though I'm kind of making more beer.
It's
But
it's such a weird anomaly,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can be. I mean, that again, not to go back to COVID, but COVID to me is kind of a blatant example of things that people weren't appreciating. Is I know breweries that were making way more beer over COVID than they have post COVID, but they're doing better post COVID because a lot more of that is draft and taproom beer than what was 100% packaged beer, and they're making 10 cents a can or less, 5 cents a can during COVID, whereas now they're making 2.38 a pint out of their tap room, right? Like that's a significant difference. So even though their volume, their production is down, their operating profit is up. Um, and it's so again, so I say like lake culture, but that also works against us here in Minnesota, right? Because there are some places where they might be in a suburb where 90% of the residents have a cabin up north. So summer actually is terrible for them because everyone's leaving town to go up north to their cabin, right? So they actually do better in winter when people aren't venturing out, but they still want to go out, still go grab a beer somewhere, maybe hit up the local lake and do some ice fishing and then go grab a beer. But in summer, like you can't drive anywhere from 9 a.m. on a Friday here in summer because the roads are packed with everyone going up north. Everyone going up north. It's miserable. And so, I mean, some of those breweries just they literally might as well only be open May 1st to September 1st because that's all they're getting. But some of these breweries that you think would be benefiting from, oh, the weather's really nice, people are getting out and about. Well, they're getting out and about and leaving, right?
You know, this is kind of the microcosm that I had when I was in Philadelphia. So my wife and I lived in Philadelphia. We lived in South Philly, but I worked at a brewery in the suburbs. And despite being in the same metro area, being like, uh, when I would bartend on a Friday night there, I could get home from the brewery to my home in South Philly in 20 minutes. And it, the seasonality was so different from those two different places because in the city, like summer's pretty good. Like, yes, you have a lot of people going down the shore to vacation, and that takes away some business. Like spring and fall. Spring is the big season for sure. Fall is a pretty good season. Winter's dead all around, but summer's pretty good in the city. But in the suburbs, summer wasn't all that good because people are going out of town on vacation. People are going into the city more on the weekends because they're like, oh, I'm gonna go into the city for dinner and drinks tonight, and we're gonna have a night out on the town. And it was so crazy to see this difference in essentially like a few mile radius, um, to have seasonality be so different there. But it's just it to me is a really interesting thing to be able to go to all these different places and have, and that's why people snowbird, right?
Mhm.
Like they have the money to be able to go to pick the spots that they want to go that are popular and have great weather at the time of the year that they want to be able to be there, right? So like, I mean, Tim, when we were up there in early June
Mhm.
visiting you, I know you said like the few days before that it was hot and miserable, like,
It was unseasonably cold when you guys were here. It was so
or it was
weird.
cold, or
It was
when we were here, yes,
yeah.
like
When you were
that
here, it was
was
unseasonably cold. But yeah.
that was the best fucking weather. Like
Oh, it was.
I loved every second of being there. It just reminded me of being like in San Francisco minus like the fog.
Yeah.
Like it was just lows in the 50s, highs in the 70s. Like that's summer in San Francisco. Like
Mhm.
it's beautiful. Like I would go for that all the fucking time. So it's just, yeah, I would
Yeah,
travel
yeah,
around to,
yeah.
to that.
The week before and the week after, they were highs in the 90s and lows in the 70s. So you guys came in the perfect pocket, which is great.
See, like here's also a thing about here. Like yes, our highs are like 93, 94 right now. We have, with the humidity, the heat index makes it feel closer to 100 most days.
Mhm.
But we we go down to about 75 to 78 at night, but the humidity is still ridiculous and
Mhm.
makes it feel like it's 85 at night. Like it isn't comfortable at all. Where like so many of these like cities, like at least like when it goes down at night, it feels somewhat comfortable. You can go out to a bar and hang out on a patio at night and not feel like you've sweated through your shirt within a minute, like Kevin does walking his kid to the bus stop. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
can't wait to do that this fall, walking my boys to VPK. Like, gonna have to change my shirt when I get home.
yeah, so it's interesting you say that because like okay, so where we had breakfast out in front of Aces, where you guys got the bagels and crema and town hall, there were all the tables and chairs that were out there. When I stopped by town hall to pick up the growler for the podcast tonight, they had all their tables overturned and chained up. All the tables out in front of Aces were like closed up, like these patios that are supposed to be outdoor spaces, particularly for the evening when it's supposedly going to close. Now, part of that's probably air quality, right? Like I'm not kidding with how
And you
they
said they're maintained by the city too, right?
not town halls, but the ones by in front of like
Yeah, the ones by
yeah, but
ASAs, right?
by Aces and Crema. Yeah, that's technically a city space, but sometimes those even now it's like yeah, we even in the evening it has not like I get up and go to work at 3 in the morning and I will be sweating walking out to my car at 3 in the morning. Um uh Part of that is just we're in again, we do have these extremes in Minnesota, but we have been like the heat, whatever. What did they call it? And then on the weather the other day, they were just basically saying that like the largest hot air mass in the entire world right now was basically over the upper Midwest, um, which is fun. We
Sounds
get
sexy.
which is great because we get to have those 97 degrees feels like it's 102-degree days like you guys have. You just never have the -4 feels like it's -40 days down there like we have.
I will say the North has had some really really hot spells lately. Like I
But I mean,
over
I've lived up here for 22 years, and
like
I've
it
felt like that.
happens. Like I mean, when we originally lived in Pennsylvania when I was a kid and we
Mhm.
moved down to here, my folks used to say like, oh, the humidity's worse in Philly during the summer than it is down here, because we would get a sea breeze
Mhm.
by the afternoon and into the night, and it cool things down. That stopped happening like decades ago. Uh, Now, like we can still have like, a heat wave up there in Philly where it's 102 makes it feel like 110 with the humidity, but that's gone in like a couple days, and then it's your normal summer, and you might get another one or two of those throughout the year. We just have like 93 feeling like 100 for 3 months.
I mean, when you're the land of 10,000 lakes, though, there's nothing but evaporation going on the entire fucking summer. We actually, our humidity is a lot worse than I think people understand. But regardless of the seasons of beer, one thing you talked about, Mike, was like near proximity, downtown Minneapolis. So Grand Casino Arena, where the Wild play, Target Field, where the Twins play, 10 miles apart, almost exactly 10 miles apart, right? Brewery right next to Grand Casino is gonna fucking kill in winter. Brewery next to Target Field ostensibly is gonna kill in summer, right? So 10 miles apart isn't that big of a difference to have that dramatic of a difference in a season.
Well, but that goes to show you it's seasonality, but it's also related to something so specific that has nothing to do with the season per se, has to do with the sports season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the weather there. It's not that. Like, there's so many specific draws, especially in a town, I think, like yours, which is more seasonal because you have multiple seasons. We have two.
Mhm.
And it's a difference when you have four. I also just want to make sure, and I think, Tim, you did a really good job of kind of saying this without saying it. We were, for the last, like, I think 20 minutes or so, just borderlining on being old men complaining about the weather.
Yeah.
Which I'm here for it. Okay, I get it. I feel the same way. I used to pride myself, and Tim, you will maybe feel this as much as me. Mike, obviously, I know you also worked in breweries. I'm not trying to discount your time and energy that you put into being inside the brewery itself, but being next to a boiling kettle for 8 hours a day makes you pretty heat immune. For years, it didn't bother me for shit. I could walk out, I could walk my son to the bus stop. I don't care. All the other parents are complaining about the heat. I'm fine. I've become so delicate in my older age. I think it's one about getting older, and two about being the lazy asshole that does emails and that doesn't actually do practical work. Those two things have made me just very fragile. And now I just complain about everything at all times. So that is who we are. United, we complain about the weather. And but I did want to make that point. I also wanted to talk specifically about seasonal beers, because we were talking about seasonality and the fact that no one gives a shit about those anymore.
No, not
Like, if you're maybe a Marzen and a pumpkin ale, but no one else really cares about seasonal beers. No
Celebration.
one's interested.
That's the only other one.
For this podcast.
So first of all, can we talk about Celebration for a second? Because it's the most it is the most. It is the
July. We're talking about Celebration.
Can we talk? Can we talk
here,
about Celebration?
Here, let's honestly talk about that, right? So fresh hop season is not fucking Christmas. Even in the Pacific Northwest, fresh hop season is not Christmas. They literally took a fresh hop beer style, made it a Christmas. I know it's not. I know what you're gonna say, but my point is, they took a thing that is supposed to be thought of more of fall harvest, made it Christmas, and made it to the point where it is not rare anymore to see it on tap still in March. Like, it has become literally a 6-month beer that is supposed to be a Christmas beer. It makes way more sense to me in September than it does in March, but it still fucking kind of holds up in March, which is surprising. But literally just the idea of that beer in the first place just kind of almost feels like a big middle finger to season in the first place. Christmas is not what the idea of that beer is, other than the fact that they call it Celebration. In any other context, in any other way, in any other name, you would think of that as an October beer. You would not think of that as a Christmas beer.
It's all the name. and all the color of the can and the label.
Yeah.
Like other than that, like this is the original beer that bucked the seasonal trends.
Yeah.
Like and it did it way before really seasonal trends existed. Like we used to, for the longest time, I remember at the previous brewery trying to come up with seasonal calendars and trying to create beer ideas that worked with the season, like both in ingredient, style, name, structure, because that was what was being done at that time. But now that doesn't matter anymore. You can make seasonal beers, but like other than, like you said, pumpkin and Oktoberfest, like none of it matters anymore.
No one gives a shit.
You're just bringing it out for the winter. You're bringing it out for the winter season, but it is quote unquote a seasonal, but it doesn't have any name value. It doesn't have any ingredients to it. You're just putting out a new beer for that particular season. And I think that that's kind of a smart thing. Dogfish Head has expanded out their seasonal, like they brought back Festina Pesh this year. Okay, but like they haven't done Aprihop in forever. They did an espresso Kolsch or espresso Czech lager. They like how does that make sense seasonality to any season? It doesn't have to. You just bring out a new beer for a season and you call it a day. And really, as long as you have good marketing behind the beer, like that's really all that matters.
So in 2019, I want to say, Badger Hill had our Oktoberfest release and Oktoberfest party at the brewery. I think this was like 20. I'm pretty sure this was 2019. 2019, we had our Oktoberfest release and our Oktoberfest party the last weekend in August. And we got lit up on the forum. First of all, fuck the forums. Like I had already said something today about how terrible the forums are on Blue Sky. How like every post on a forum is, "Hey, I'm going to be in town for 4 minutes and I'm carrying nothing but a fanny pack. What's the best? What's the best bar within 5 minutes that I can Uber to?" And someone's like, "You should go to Duluth. You should drive over to Wisconsin. And here's a liquor store so you can bring a bunch of beer back in your fanny pack." I'm like, "Shut up! Everyone in beer forums is terrible." But all the beer forums lit us up of Oktoberfest is in August. This is the dumbest thing ever. And that's when we were releasing the beer. And yeah, we had the party there, but also because there's 3 billion Oktoberfest parties, you have to stand out in some way. And now the fact that they're being released in June, 7 years later, and no one's even batting an eye, talks about how far that goes. But no one ever really talks about that on November 1st, your Oktoberfest can't fucking sell for a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the beginning of the season, we all talk about seasonal creep forward. Celebration is the only one that gets away with seasonal creep after. It's literally the only thing because they don't
before and after.
Yeah, yeah. You could release that April 1st to March 31st, and people would be fine with that. But any of these other ones, like you said, pumpkin but particularly Oktoberfest, literally November 1st. Right? You could sell 39 barrels out of 40 barrels, and on November 1st, that last barrel is going to last you until February 18th.
Like year, we sold our last pint of our fest beer on Halloween night, and it was like, oh my god, this was the best timing ever. Yeah. Like we got rid of it all because then the following year it went past that, and we had probably like 3 kegs that lasted until mid-December. Yeah.
I mean, at Badger Hill, we try to, like, again, fresh hop beers. Fresh hop beers have fucking died as a category.
Yeah.
Across the industry. Like that whole fresh and wet has completely died. But we also just started calling these things like, autumn ale or, something like that can, whether it's a fresh hop, we intentionally made it like a red IPA. So it was a lot more autumny and it had a lot more legs, or the Oktoberfest, or Märzen style, or those types of things now just became more like German style autumn lager, or like all that bullshit, English pub ale instead of extra special bitter type of like bullshit type of thing you say, just so it maybe has a little legs into the season. Like the season can't entirely buy like, yeah.
Well, that's interesting because that makes me think: did we as brewers kill the seasonal because having a seasonal limits you and doesn't allow you to actually sell all your product? It used to be, and I'm just thinking very, mass production kind of stuff. How many bars had a Sam Adams seasonal 15 years ago? If you were a craft beer bar, you had, or even if you were, I think, a Applebee's, you had a Sam Adams seasonal draft handle, right?
Yeah.
And you rotated through those seasons. And you saw that at craft beer places in abundance. You had your seasonal beers. These beers came in, and we had them for sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months, what have you, and they were rotated out. But we had this arms race to have these beers out earlier and earlier. And we have these limited time frames of when those beers can be sold because, as you said, an Oktoberfest can't be sold in November or December, and a Christmas beer is just past its prime in January. So I'm now thinking from what you're saying, Tim, maybe we did it. Maybe we stopped the seasonal beer because we realized that we can't really make seasonal beers anymore because we can't move it all and we can't be profitable with 10,000 other options out there. But we can say, by the way, has anyone ever said that loves beer? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Has anyone ever said, yeah, I don't want your Marzen? I want the fucking Marzen in February, right? There's never a time I don't want a Marzen. There's never a time I don't want a fest beer.
Well, yeah, but again, these are people who like beer, not people who buy beer. Those are two different things, right? The other thing is that one of the biggest problems that we ran into just as an industry for beer, but as a bar and restaurant industry, is the fucking menu said Sam Adams seasonal, and I didn't know which one it was, right? And there's a big difference between their spring and summer, and you wouldn't think there is, but there's a big difference between those things.
Oh yeah,
and the server never knew.
That's a big deal,
right? Or I go into Applebee's A, and it's still the spring, and I go into Applebee's B, and it's still the summer, and they're two different things. Like that did not help a thing, right? Now I go into a liquor store and I see variety packs that are based off of seasons. And suddenly I'm seeing the spring variety pack and the summer variety pack together. Or God forbid, I see the spring still have a couple of cases with the fall variety pack. Like part of that, I think, yeah, we killed it, but part of that was the marketing idea of all of that was putting a lot of heavy lifting on the third leg of the stool to help us do that, right?
It's a great point. It's a really good point.
Like another way that I feel like maybe breweries fuck this up for the retailer is when all of the smaller guys started to get involved in this. Like for a while, like, okay, they could rely on your Sam's and your bigger craft breweries to supply. Well, when 2,000 barrel local brewery puts out a seasonal beer, like, all right, we got our Oktoberfest coming on. You want to put it on tap? Like, yeah, sweet. All right, we got 20 Slims. Oh, that's not going to get me through a season. Like Sam Adams has like pallets and pallets and pallets. Like when I run out, I can get another. Oh yeah, you're going to have to bring them all in the first drop, or like we're not making it again, because small breweries don't have the capacity to be able to make enough to supply those chain or type accounts throughout the entire season. Like
But-
if you want them to be able to be like, oh, you're going to go through a half barrel a week of this, or maybe even a half barrel every 2 weeks, and you only send out 16 half barrels, like you're kind of screwed on, and you're not brewing another batch.
Because Boston Beer also has enough TTB labels in their arsenal to be able to just rebrand the same fucking thing and resell it. Like little guys can't do that. That's part of the thing too, right? The classic example is remember when Budweiser came out with American Ale and it totally fucking tanked. They never quit making the beer. They just red labeled that shit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like some of that is certainly at play. But yeah, I mean it is that delicate balance of do I make enough to survive the season to do I make
quick sidebar,
one barrel more and it's too much.
Tim, what do you use up in Minnesota call a keg? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I know he started busting that. He never used that on the pod until he came up here to Minnesota. Did you notice?
No.
The use really came out a lot.
He was
more.
trying to show Philly pride. I think it's 100% intentional.
I feel like it just hung on. Yeah, it's a Michael in Philadelphia.
Okay. A keg full of 5.16 gallons of beer. What do you call that?
Typically sixtels.
You call them a sixtel? Okay.
Typically sixtels. Every once in a while, I hear someone call them logs, and I hate that one to death.
That is a weird one to me.
Yeah, I not. It's not often. But sixtels usually is what they're called. Yeah, sixtels or sixers.
So, like Kevin, you call it a slim, right?
I call them both sixtels and slims, but I think I probably use slim more often.
I use slim.
So the only reason is because we have a fair amount to do slim quarter barrels. So you can do
that is a thing too. Is quarter barrels are not a thing down here, and I've heard people say that in other areas. That's what the term is for that.
Well, because there's two different form factors for quarter barrels. You can do a short one that is basically like a half barrel, but it's just half of it. It's half of a half barrel. It's the same radius, but half the height. Or you can do a quarter barrel that just looks like a fatter six barrel. It's the same height, but a narrower radius. It's the only keg form factor that can come in both. Technically they all can come in whatever. You could put a half barrel in a glass harmonica, but
there's our Hedberg reference.
Yeah, but in general, if you order a six barrel or a six barrel from a distributor, you know you're getting a slim six barrel. There's not another size. If you order a half barrel, you know exactly the size. If you order a quarter barrel, you might have to specify that height or diameter. And I will tell you that I have personally seen breweries. Maybe not Summit anymore, but I used to have a Summit quarter barrel that was the short one, and I saw another one that was the tall, fatter one. So that's why we don't necessarily call them slims as much up here, just because quarter barrels are fairly popular. I've never personally used quarter barrels in a brewery, but there are enough of the larger ones that do. Time and a place.
So I wanted to just touch on something that Tim, you were saying about, going into a bar or restaurant and one of them in the same chain has the spring seasonal and one of them has the summer seasonal and this, that, and the other.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we appreciate how important that is with the idea of killing seasonal beers when you realize that if you are not on the menu in a position where you can call for that beer, no one gives a shit. If you go into a craft-centric place and you put seasonal beer from Sam Adams, I care about Sam Adams still, but I'm just saying, like, seasonal beer from whatever, name your most niche, incredible brewery. and you put that on the menu, someone's going to ask, "Oh, what do you have? What do you have?" If you go into a Duffy's, which is a chain down here that has 30 locations, and you put seasonal beer from Barrel of Monks on the menu, effectively 0 people are going to ask what that beer is. 0. They are not going to do it. And what we have noticed, we've had so many chains trying to put our beer on the menu, but saying like, "Oh, it's a rotating draft." It is effectively nothing. If you give me a rotating draft and it says it on your menu, you've basically given me nothing. And recently, we had to have a hard conversation with Duffy's specifically because they wanted to put something like that on the menu. And we had to make a hard line and say, "You're just setting us up to fail. And then our beer is going to underperform and you're going to think we suck. And then we're not going to be on your draft list anymore. You've got to put one beer on, call it an IPA or whatever the beer we're doing. And even if it's the 4th IPA on your menu, we're going to do better if you tell us it's a seasonal rotator or a beer that location can pick because they want a Belgian blonde ale with guava and the other one wants a triple." And that just goes to show you the most important thing about this is that the education and the knowledge of the consumer, no one really gives a shit. They just don't care. They want something that's easy, digestible. They understand it. They can order it, and they don't need to have too much back and forth.
Well, but I mean, back in 2011, 2012 at Buffalo Wild Wings, that was one of the biggest things that we struggled with because we always had Boston beer on. We always had Sam Adams, but we had Sam Adams and we had Adams Rotator or Sam Adams Seasonal, or they might be both. We might have had certain, if you were over 30 tap handles, you might have been mandated to have 3. You might have been able to have Sam Adams, Boston Lager, and their seasonal and a rotator, right? And it didn't matter how many marketing assets and how much training and all of that. You have to remember, sometimes it's a fucking 17-year-old server who does not give 2 shits or know or care. Or fuck, I've said on the podcast a GM that won GM of the year didn't know Guinness was a different gas mix. They don't know because those aren't the things. Those aren't the engines, right? Like when like you said earlier about, oh, well, you beer people would know that. Great. Beer people aren't the people running they aren't the consumers the beer industry cares about. Right? Like that's what drives me insane about Reddit beer forums or beer advocate or whatever is you're not as big of a deal as you fucking think you are. And so you have to make it dumb and easy because the real people that pay your rent don't want to hear seasonal. They don't want to hear rotator. They want to know what this is.
You know what else customers don't want is for all the pressure to be put on them.
Yeah.
Like when you see a menu that says ask your server for local craft selection. I never do that. No. Not at all. No. Like what I will do is stand up, walk over to the bar and look for tap handles.
Or look in the cooler if they have like a open fridge and you can see what beers they have. But you don't want to even like inconvenience the person. One, because you are never confident that they know what they have.
Yeah.
And 2, because you are a human being who doesn't want to have interactions with other human beings. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves about who we are, Mike.
Absolutely. For Father's Day, we went out to a local chain, Miller's Ale House. Kevin will know that one. And my dad made a call beer selection that is not on the menu. And I was like kind of proud of him. I'm like, oh, you selected a beer that is not on the menu. And also the server was like, oh yes, like you could tell she very very quickly was like, do we have that? Yes, we do. Okay, it's at the second bar, like, and it's not on the menu. Like they have so many beers on tap that are not on the menu. Like probably at least a dozen.
That
are not on the menu.
You know why?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I don't. Tell me.
So Buffalo Wild Wings, 1,000 locations. 28 different menu styles based off of price tiers, based off allergen, based off of all of those things. That costs a fuck ton of money
Oh
to
yeah,
produce.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
You know how much money the food menu. I'm not even talking about the drink menu. I'm just talking about the food
the
menu.
food menu. Yeah,
Yeah, you know how much money that costs to make for all
yeah.
those
A lot.
locations. Yeah, you know how much Buffalo Wild Wings paid for that? Zero, because Anheuser Busch and Molson Coors and Boston Beer gave money to a little thing called Patrick Henry, and as long as those logos and their primary brands and Sam Adams Seasonal was listed on that menu, it said on the printed on the menu Sam Adams Seasonal. Boston Beer paid for Adams Seasonal beer. They paid for it to literally not list what the seasonal was. But Buffalo Wild Wings paid $0 for that. But Copper Point isn't paying for that.
yeah.
Barrel of
Well,
Monks
I
isn't
mean,
giving money to Patrick
I will
Henry.
say, like I've been impressed by like that. We go to two different Buffalo Wild Wings. Like there's one by my parents' house and there's one by our house, and they have different draft lists and they have different printed menus
And that's
that have every beer listed on them.
and
And
that comes down to the franchisee.
and I've always been impressed by that. But where like you go to Miller's Ale House, you're always going to have the primary 12 to 18 beers listed there, and then like everything else that is different from location to location, or even ones that are not different. Like there could be Waypoint IPA at every location. They're not on the menu,
and never will be.
Yeah, because it's not going to get paid for to be on there. It could be,
Yeah.
it could
And-
be
and-
on, it could be on there on 100% of locations for 300 years. If Barrel Monks
Congratulations,
isn't
Kevin,
paying
on
for it.
300 years of business.
we've been around for a while. No,
But my point is, the Barrel Monks isn't giving them a dime to help them print their menus. It doesn't matter how permanent of a placement that is. That's the point.
So, and I love, Mike, that you talked about that, and thank you for putting that in there, Tim. And it does make a lot of sense on what you're saying. The Miller's Ale House, I can throw a rock or a baseball and hit it from my house. Like it's right around the corner. And
What a brag on his arm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not that far away. Actually, guys, it's like a throw from like first to third at this point.
I mean, I sent Mike a video of a 75-year-old man hitting a home run, and I didn't send it so that Mike could be like, "Wow!" I more sent it just to shame all of us.
But what I'm saying is that this is a local spot to us. They have Bell's Two Hearted on the menu. They have never had Bell's Two Hearted on draft. Never.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have gone and I just randomly will ask like every third time I go, "Hey, do you have Bell's Two Hearted?" And I have never once had a bartender or a server actually know. Every time they have to go and say, "I'll go check."
Yeah.
But it says it right here on the menu that you have this beer. And we're not talking about Barrel of Monks. We're not talking about Copper Point. We're not talking about Joe Schmo's local IPA. We're talking about a national beer that's on the menu at a chain that has 40 locations in Florida, and they just don't carry one of the beers on the menu. That is mind-boggling to me.
What's funny on Father's Day? That's what I was drinking. It was Two Hearted.
It is entirely unsurprising to me. It's entirely unsurprising to me, especially when you give any general manager the ability. Do you know? Do you know what the number one selling beer at Buffalo Wild Wings for across the chain was?
I'm going to say Bud Light because it seems to be a good bet.
Modelo.
Manager's Choice number one.
I love that beer. I've been drinking that for years and didn't know people enjoyed it as much as I did.
I'm a Manager's Choice number one guy.
They were supposed to submit things to actually get this categorized right, so we could track sales by region, by whatever, so that it could get put on marketing assets, it get put on whatever. But there was a default button they never should have given to the manager, but they gave it to the manager. And so manager's choice number one. And you know what the standard price for the entire system was?
$5.
The first guy who bought that keg, whatever it was the price. And so even if it's a brand new beer and we didn't get it and we actually got it put into our system, right? So say it's Sam Adams cherry wheat, right? National thing. We're gonna put it into our system.
The worst
Then-
Sam Adams beer of all time. Yes.
Of
Yeah,
all time.
Okay.
Or
But,
yes. Yeah.
but my point is, okay, so they actually went through the proper process to put in Sam Adams cherry wheat. Now you have pricing tiers, right? And so basically your pricing tiers don't say I charge 5, 6, or 7. They just say I'm in price tier A, B, or C, so that your price tier in downtown Manhattan reflects your price tier in Wilton, Iowa. They're both A, B, or C, but $6 here is the same as $10 over here, right? But the problem is that when that button would get created, it would be based off of the keg price of the first keg ever purchased. So if I'm the Boston beer rep, I sell you that first keg of cherry wheat for pennies on the dollar. So now from here on out, every single place is going to sell that thing for as cheap as shit. So I move in as much volume as possible. It was based off of nothing because general managers of restaurants, chain restaurants, and I say this with the most respect possible, are stupid when it comes to bar and beverage because they think of bar and beverage as selling itself, and I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to know about it because it's not an operational excellence piece, it's not a food expediting piece. It's the old adage of booze sells itself. I've heard this for 40 years. Booze sells itself. Booze sells itself. But you don't have to get good at it because booze sells itself. And to the most part, that's true. The number of bars I've had a terrible beer experience in are not hurting for beer sales, right? Again, I know what a bad beer experience is. Most people don't fucking care. And so when it comes to the ignorance of those things, you're not going to get better. Again, to bring it back to my point of that, we're expecting the third leg of that stool to do a better job. They're never going to. So as a brewery, to bring it back to, did the breweries kill the seasonals? No. It took 3 different legs of the stool fucking up together to all ruin this. We all worked our damnedest to fuck up the idea of a seasonal. Retailers don't know how to market it from a bar and restaurant standpoint. Retailers from an off-prem, a liquor store, they don't know how to do that, and they don't want to be sitting on pumpkin ale in March. And breweries don't know how much to go, and the consumer doesn't really understand, right? They don't understand
or care in many cases.
I get, again, Meritzen drops off November 1st. It's not that the customer doesn't care. They almost just think suddenly the beer turns it into, I was going to say a pumpkin, but literally that would actually be fitting. But it turns into something terrible on November 1st, right?
I feel like Tim just put maybe the most perfect bow on this conversation that a human being possibly could. What do you think, Mike?
I would say so. Yeah.
He wasn't even listening.
He ran out, and I'm calling him out in a little bit, but also he heard enough of the last bit of that to get it.
Yeah. It was a perfect way to blow up everyone all at the same time.
Everyone's the problem.
I don't care who is listening to the podcast right now. You are to blame. Right? It's like we say, if you agree,
you.
It's like we say, if you agree, you're right. If you disagree, you're also right. But at the end of the day, you're all at fault.
All right. So I think that's a good point to head into last calls.
I think so.
All right. So let's do last call. It's the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beverage related or not. The only rules are is that it is uninterrupted, unopposed, unobjected. And we'll start with Kevin today.
Okay, so one of the things that I was struck by in my visit to Spain, and I touched on this a little bit earlier and didn't go too in depth into it, was some of the architecture and some of like the historical sites that I visited. And I didn't think that I was going to be moved by them or really affected by them like I was. But there's two places in particular. One was the Alhambra in Granada, and the other one was the mosque in Cordoba. Those two sites were developed by the Moors, which is a Muslim sect of people from North Africa that came into Spain. And by the way, don't believe anything I have to say. Go actually research this. But I want to say about the 9th century, because I'm always wrong in everything I'm saying. But the general gist of it will actually be accurate. And I went into two of these historical sites, and the detail, the mathematical precision in the carvings of the walls was breathtaking. We're talking about the 9th century, and a 3-story tower was carved on every inch of it with mathematical precision to the point where every angle worked perfectly and every one of these squares that were intricately designed met perfectly in the corners. It was breathtaking to see that skill and that beauty. And what also struck me was that later on, both those historical sites were taken over by Christian churches that then plastered over all of that and then put up paintings of their savior and of other religious figures that looked like children's drawings. People with weird proportions, gold adornments that didn't really work and weren't all that beautiful. And I was struck by this to the point that I thought, you know what? There are so many people, especially in the West, that think that the achievements in architecture and art and culture by white people are the epitome of what our culture, our human culture, can achieve. And what I saw was people who in the 9th century were doing things so intricate and so special that were being plastered over 200, 300 years later by, quite frankly, people who were drawing like children. And we don't appreciate those cultures because we're not exposed to them. I never would have been exposed to anything like this. I never would have been introduced to this in my schooling. What I was thinking as I was wandering through these beautiful sites was every single white nationalist should be forced by gunpoint to go into the Alhambra, to go into the mosque at Cordoba and see what culture has been whitewashed, been written over, the beauty, the skill that is just lost to history because we have and I'm part of it, unfortunately, we have our own history that we wanted to dominate it. When I was in the mosque in Cordoba, there's this huge renovation happening where there are people going out and removing, I'm going to use the term plaster because I don't know what it actually was used, but they were removing all the coverings of these intricate designs to restore it to its former glory, revealing the skill and the architecture of people that should never have been covered up in the first place. And this is not happening just because these were different religions. This is happening And this happened because they were covering up the culture of a people that they subjugated, and a culture of people that they wanted to repress. And being in those cultural sites and experiencing it firsthand was humbling and something that I wish I knew about when I was 8 years old. And I'm happy my son got to experience it. And I'm happy I got to tell my son what was happening here and why all of it was beautiful in its own way. But some of this site had been covered up for very nefarious reasons. Done.
Thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. I'm going to go next. I wanted to talk about a term that I've heard kind of just like, if you spend any amount of time online, you hear this term at some point, and that is enshittification. And pretty much this was a term that was coined by an author, Cory Doctorow. He writes science fiction, but he coined this term that pretty much means platform decay, and just means like things that we are told are good that decay over time and just get worse and worse and worse. And pretty much the internet is enshittification, because I have been dealing with the worst possible like technical support across multiple platforms for multiple reasons, all within the last couple months. I have been dealing with Meta technical support for a client's Instagram account for going on 3 months now, because and this client pays for the Meta verified that gives you the priority support. You aren't a priority. You spend money on ads, you spend money to be verified. They don't give a shit about you. I have, for another client, been spending time with TikTok's support over an issue that has been 3 weeks now. They don't give a fuck. On this own show, a couple weeks ago, friend of the show, Maddie Smooth, love you guy, told me that the last couple episodes didn't come up on Spotify. I go and look at our Spotify and, oh, yeah, our last 2 episodes didn't show up on Spotify. I was working with Spotify, and their support was like, nope, the problem is with your feed. You got to go to your host. Our host, Libsyn, I go to them. They are like, there's nothing wrong with our feed that we see. And we have some other customers having this issue. We've opened an internal ticket with Spotify. By the way, Libsyn is one of the biggest hosts of podcasts in the world. Spotify, one of the biggest providers of podcasts in the world. The fact that they don't have a more direct line of communication with each other than opening up a ticket like us plebs do, is ridiculous. And after a week, Libsyn's like, yeah, Spotify hasn't responded to us. Like, okay, can you give me what the ticket number that you have with them is? And I'm going to go to Spotify and I'm going to raise hell. This went on for about 3 weeks, with me having to be the one who did all the back and forth between these two companies before we got it resolved. The issue was on Spotify, by the way. They admitted the issue was with them. They didn't say exactly what the issue was, but they fixed it. So you YouTube or Spotify listeners, I'm happy that you can start getting our show again. But like, I used to work in tech support for a web hosting company for for two different web hosting companies for close to a decade. If I let a support issue go for longer than a day without escalating it to someone who would actively work on it, or me resolving the issue myself, I would have been fucking fired. Like, the fact that these companies, like, these are all big companies, I know. Like, anyone who has dealt with Comcast over phone or AT&T, like, you know what this shit's all about. Like, there's no care for you. There is no customer care for any of you. And that isn't shitification. We have been told that support is there to help us. They don't care about us. They want you to do all the legwork. The restaurants who put ask your server for what the local options are. It's throwing it all back on you, the consumer. That is the enshittification of the internet. You have to do all the work. None of these companies are there to help you. They're there to take your money, but they are not there to help you. And I am very sorry to any Spotify listeners out there who went over a month. 2 episodes is over a month. And this issue lasted 3 weeks when I was made aware of it. I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. That's not cool. And I know that we are small time in the whole scheme of podcast culture. We're no fucking Rogan to Spotify. And we pay Libsyn. We pay them. These guys send me money at the beginning of each year to pay for our Libsyn account, to be able to host these podcast files that are then picked up by aggregates, Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. They don't exist anymore, but like all those other podcast services that you listen to us on, they just take that from Libsyn's feed. And we pay money. We're not freebies. We're not hangers on. It fucking sucks when you pay for something. You think that you're getting something. You're getting support. You're getting hands-on help. And you're not. But that's the enshittification of the internet. That's the enshittification of our culture, of our world. And I fucking hate it. Tim.
I was gonna say, I guess that's pitched over to me. I'm gonna break one rule, and I'm going to only tangentially respond with a Seinfeld quote of, "I'm sorry, the card says moops." Someone out there is going to get that one. Anyway, the thing I wanted to say was, so 6 months ago, you listeners heard me talk about what we were going through in Minnesota with the occupation of our state and our metro area. And things are obviously a lot easier, but they're not done. But what I want to say is, residents of Maine, residents of Houston, who both have had ICE-involved shootings, we see you in Minnesota. National press isn't giving you the attention that they gave us, right? It fucking sucked to be part of an occupied territory, but at least we got some exposure, and I feel like Maine has gotten a drop in the bucket compared to Minnesota. Houston's got nothing. I'm willing to bet you guys didn't even know Houston also happened. You knew one shooting happened, and you maybe didn't know it was Maine. You just knew it was one. And so when I said Maine and Houston, you probably were even debating which one it was. The reality is there have been 2 ICE shootings here in both Maine and Houston. There's not a fucking crime where execution on the spot is justified penalty. Not a single one. Right? Don't tell me you're a constitutionalist if you fucking believe that is the way that we prosecute crimes. You're not a constitutionalist. Quit pretending like you're a constitutionalist just because you want to masturbate to guns. Like, that's not what the Constitution is for. The Constitution doesn't exist for you to have guns. The Constitution exists for rights. And due process is a right. 0 crimes are prosecuted through immediate execution by a law enforcement officer who is not a judge, is not a jury, or is in Hot Fuzz judge, jury, and executioner. That's not the fucking way this works, guys. So quit giving me your just comply bullshit. It's bullshit. Maine, we see you. Houston, we see you. Minneapolis stands by you. Because we actually do care about rights. That's what real people believe in, is rights. Well-regulated militias, sure, we still stand up for guns. We don't fucking hate Tim Walz. He's a hunter. He has several guns, right? We care about that shit. We just don't think that you should be shot because of every crime. Your execution should not be justified in any way. And if you have any intellectual bone in your body, you would actually agree with that. If you had any moral bone in your body, you would actually admit that you believe that. Because I know even half the people arguing against that actually believe it in their heart of hearts. It's silly. Do not shoot people. End of story. Start to finish. Do not shoot people. People aren't targets. ICE, quit shooting people. And Maine, I'm sorry that you are not getting the press. Houston, I'm sorry you are not getting the press that we got in Minneapolis. You deserve it just as much. And I'm sorry, I don't know the victims' names. I know Alex Petty's name, and I know Renee Good's name, and that's a bias I have, and that's my fault too. But we see you. What's going on is silly, and in 40 years will be written in history books by people incredulous that fucking happened. People are going to be fucking incredulous in 40 years, just like we're incredulous now that the Holocaust happened or the Red Scare happened or any other thing happened. And we go, how did that happen? You're seeing it right now. You're seeing it right now. So, I know. I got heated. I get it. If there's one thing to get fucking heated about, it's the idea that we do not execute people extrajudiciously. End of story. You don't get to be a constitutionalist and think we execute people extrajudiciously and give some just comply bullshit. That's literally not how that works. Get fucked if you think it does. So, yeah, I guess let Tim put a cheery bow on our last calls.
My favorite bows are Tim bows.
Cherry bows?
Tim Bows sounds like a
Tim
wrestler
Bows.
name, or some sort of athlete name.
That I couldn't think of a better bow to put on last calls because that was perfect.
Yeah. Shia LaBeouf GIF.
Thank you for taking a GIF, which is solely a visual and not audible format, and turn it into something that's totally audible.
We're a visual format now too, and you know what? Maybe I'll put that GIF over top of it, like I put the dancing baby over when you were gone.
And we get 7 to 10 views. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a C&D. I don't know. Like, that would be great, right? That's what breweries hope for, is to get a C&D and blame someone for their stuff.
United We Budweiser, brought to you by Modelo. I think that's what we call this now if you want a C&D.
Does anyone want to plug anything?
I don't.
I do. And this isn't a 14 visuals. I just want to plug uh, Mike, I don't think you guys understand the work that he goes into to edit these podcasts. Not just for audio, and I know he got into the effort it is to work with things, but I was the idiot who suggested we actually go visual as a format on this stuff, and I didn't take into any consideration.
Considerization.
Jesus Christ, I'm inventing words. Consideration, the added effort. But this is literally the extra mile that this man goes. So whether it's 14 visuals, whether it's just Mike, whatever it is, this man cares a lot. So I don't even know. I'm trying to drum up business for you. I'm just
Thanks.
I'm just pointing out that maybe that you're awesome. I think maybe is what I'm plugging.
They don't call him Mike whatever it is Urevich for nothing.
I was just gonna say I got to go buy MikeWhateverItis.com and forward that to my other sites.
I think you should. We'll come up with merch. Obviously not you, because you know what you're doing with that. No, seriously. Well, and also I will plug our website for merch. I need to get a new shirt myself. Mine was very tattered. If you saw me at our meetup.
That's true. Yeah, that was very worn. So, if you have a very worn United We Drink shirt, go to our web store, unitedwedrink.com/store, and buy a new one.
And send us a picture of your very worn United We Drink shirt on social media, and we will give you a shout out on the pod.
We can't give you a shirt, but we can give you a shout out because people like to hear their names, right?
All people care about.
For real. Like that's why people donate to certain Patreons, is just to have their name in the credits of,
like
of a YouTube video.
Yeah, even read out loud. I mean, that's everything.
People call in birthdays to the local news morning wake up Sheboygan TV show.
Fred 75 today.
Yeah, Agnes Weatherby is celebrating an 89th birthday.
Congratulations, Mel Brooks. You're 100. I know you wanted to hear that on this show. He's a big listener to us.
The Schwartz is with him.
Speaking of videos that Tim so graciously said that we should be doing, make sure that you follow our social media because we have more video content coming to you very, very soon.
We'll be going off.
Oh, I like what you did there. I was going to say what's old is new again, but like
we'll be going off.
Oh, yeah. So follow us. We are at United We Drink on Facebook and Blue Sky. We're at United We Drink Pod on Instagram. So be sure that you follow us on there for some new content that will be coming to you very shortly. And check out our website, unitedwedrink.com. If you subscribe to us on one of their podcast services that allows you to rate and review, like Apple Podcasts, please do that. It helps us. It's a small little thing that you can do for free that really just helps us in algorithm world. And then other than that, I guess we'll be back in a couple weeks with another brand new episode. Thank you, everyone, for if you listen to the recap, the replay of Sam from last week. Thank you for that as well. Sam was super stoked that he got replayed on the show. He messaged me about that.
I think
Michael Che.
I was gonna say,
like
I think
Tim
he
was there.
As excited, yeah. I think he was just as excited to meet Michael Che as he was to be a replay on United We Drink. So that's perfect.
That was why I replayed it. I thought it was just so timely for that. Like go listen to that episode again if you haven't. Like, the dude has made a brewery that is something else. Like, it is a true like third space that is not a brewery, and it's fucking fantastic. And he's got people who have name and pull that come in there and want to play there. So it's incredible. So do that. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Thank you everyone once again. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.